and then move on. So today we're going to talk about calculators and scientific notation. I am going to show you using this calculator. It's a TI-30X II S, and I love this calculator. So if you want to use it throughout the class, that's great. If you want to use a different calculator, that's okay, you can, but you will need to look up how to do each of the functions that I'm showing you, because I'm only going to model this particular calculator. So here we're saying you need to know your calculator. So if you want to use a different one, that's fine, but you do need to make the effort to figure out how to do all the functionality on your calculator. Okay, so from what I'm showing you, hopefully that'll give you the idea of, oh, I didn't know my calculator could do a thing like that, and so then you can figure out how you actually do it. First thing I want to show you is to go from fractions to decimals and back and forth. And on the calculator, it's kind of neat because you can put in a fraction as a fraction and your calculator will put it in its simplest terms as long as the numbers aren't too large. And too large is around 500. So if the number is greater than 500, your calculator is probably not going to handle it for you. But if it's smaller than 500, your calculator is probably going to handle it. And when I say handle it, I'm talking about reducing fractions with numbers that large. Okay, so an example, 1/2, I can put in 1, and I use this little button here. It's like an A and then a B over C, so it's like a mixed number. So you push that, and it gives you that funny little symbol there, and that just tells you that it's using it as a fraction instead of doing anything else with it. So I can put the 2 next because it is a 1/2, and then if I just push enter, then it's just going to show it as 1/2 as a fraction. If I want to see that as a decimal, I can, I have this function here, the f to d, that's fraction to decimal. So since it's up on top, I'm going to have to do the second button first. So I'll do second and then f to d, and you can see it's showing there. It's going to take whatever my answer was from the previous step, which was our 1/2, and convert it from a fraction into a decimal, or back and forth. So I'll just do an equals, and now it gives me 0.5. Now most people know 1/2 and 0.5 are the same thing, so that's why I started with it, so you can see whether or not your calculator is doing what you think it should. Now let's try one more thing, and that's to take that 0.5 and see if we can put it backwards into a fraction using that same button. So we'll do second f to d, and it does. It converts it back into a fraction. So that's handy too. So I can use it either way. What I wanted to do is go back and forth and write the equivalent decimal values for these. So this one is 0.05, and then I want 3/8. So 3/8 is my next one. I have two options really. I can do this this fractions button, and I can use that and use fraction to decimal and back and forth. Or if I just need a decimal value, I can do 3 divided by 8, which is what 3/8 means. 3/8, 3 divided by 8. And then push enter. And that gives me the decimal form of the fraction. So that one is 0.375. Now here's a bigger number, and I can see that I have a large numerator and a small denominator. Remember, the numerator is the top part and the denominator is the bottom part. And so when I have 309 over 9, I know I have more than one whole. In fact, a lot more than one whole. So if I'm converting it to a decimal, I expect there to be a big number up in the front instead of for both of these where I had a 0 essentially out front because the number in the numerator is smaller. In both cases, this time I have a bigger numerator than denominator, so I expect a very large number in front of my decimal place. So let's try that out. Remember, I can do 309 divided by 9 like that, and I get 34.33. And it is repeating, so it goes on and on. Now, normally in this class, if I don't say, you can go ahead and round it to 2 decimal places. That's usually plenty. So if I'm rounding, remember we just did that in our pre-class. So we look at the next digit, which in this case would be another 3. And so then I would round it to 34.33 because the following digit is less than 5. When I want to do a number like, oh, remember you can also do 309 over 9 using the fraction button. And use this fraction button and put it over 9. Remember it has that funny symbol. Push enter and then it'll give you a reduced mixed number. So it's 34 and see that U there, 1/3. So you could also write this as 34 and 1/3. Now I'm going to tell you right up front in Math 104 and really from here on, we do not like this format of numbers. And the reason is we can't tell if it's supposed to be 34 times 1/3 or if it's supposed to be 34 plus 1/3. And because there's confusion there, we say, oh, forget it. We just want to see it in this form as an improper fraction or in this form as a rounded decimal. So we would not want to rewrite it in terms of a mixed number. That drives us crazy because we don't know which way to interpret it. So here is a mixed number, which you should be saying, she just said we don't want that, which is true. So what I want to be able to do is take that mixed number and convert it into a decimal or into an improper fraction. I'm going to show you how to do both. So first off, I do 4, and I'm going to use that ABC button again. So 4 and 1, push it one more time. So I push that ABC button 2 different times, and you can see that I have the little half of a box there 2 times. So it's being interpreted as 4 and 1/3. And that's what my number was over here, 4 1/3. And when I push equals, it gives me a mixed number, which again, I don't want, but if you look on top of the ABC button, it has a conversion from mixed number into improper fraction. So that's what I want to do, convert it. And it's showing it, you can see it right here, A, B over C, back and forth to D over C, and that's just an improper fraction. So if I push enter, it gives me 13/3. Now that I like because there's no confusion. I know what it's supposed to be. So 13/3 is equivalent. And then if I want decimal form, remember I can still do that with that button, fraction to decimal, and it's 4.333. Now you might have already known a third is the same thing as 0.33 repeating, and so then this one would be equivalent to 4.33 in the decimal form. All right, we have another one. Give that one a try. Try some of the different methods that I've been showing you, just so you can kind of get used to your calculator and how it works. So I'm going to do 9 fraction 11 or 9 over 11 and push enter. It can't reduce, so it's in its most reduced form. And then I'm going to convert it to a decimal. And I have 0.82. Now this one has an 8 after the position where I would like to round. So I have to bump up that 1 by 1 and make it a 2. So 0.82 will be my result here. Now I don't mind if you leave off that leading 0 in front of the decimal, that's fine. Just be aware that it is a 0 out front. Okay, so here are some mixed numbers and some improper fractions. And we kind of like to go back and forth between those. So if we do 5 7/9, we can do 5 ABC, 7 ABC, 9, 5 7/9. And it's giving it to me in that form. I can make it an improper fraction and get 52/9. Okay, and then 8 1/11. Whoops, wrong button. 8 1/11. And then convert that into an improper fraction, and I get 89/11. Now remember, you can do these by hand, certainly, but I like to show you how to do them on the calculator as well. So if you have been struggling with converting, why not use your calculator, because pretty much everybody has a calculator with them. Remember, the by hand route is to take 11 times 8, so you get 88, and then add 1. That gives you 89. That's your numerator, and then put it over that 11 for your denominator. So you can do it by hand too if you want. But if you have to go ahead and multiply it anyway, why not just enter it? So 14 fraction or fraction 13ths, 4 and 4 13, 14 and 4 13ths, convert to improper, and I get 186 over 13. So that's an improper fraction. Now this one, 516 over 17, that's not a mixed number, it's an improper fraction. So we'd like to go the other direction if we can. 516 over 17, push enter, and it gives me a mixed number. It will also be the most reduced form of that mixed number. Remember, again, this is just in case you need to write it as an answer to a problem that started with mixed numbers. That's really the only time you would use mixed numbers in algebra beyond high school algebra. So that's the only reason we're showing you this. 923 over 6. That's 153. And 5/6. And then 306 over 9. We did that one before. Wow, I thought we did that one before. That one is just divisible, and so when I put it in on the calculator, it reduces it to its simplest form, which is 34. So that's kind of cool too.